Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Project SOAR Fit. My name is Aron. I'm the program coordinator for Project SOAR. I didn't see anyone log online or on live with our Zoom, so you're probably joining me on YouTube, so welcome. If you've not worked out with Project SOAR or me before, we are an adapted sports and recreation program for veterans with disabilities. This fitness class is part of what we do, but we also do lots of fun trips and outings locally and within our state, like climbing and camping and skiing and deep sea fishing and yoga and a whole host of other things. So if you're joining us, I hope that you get to do lots of other fun stuff with us too. These fitness classes are designed to be adaptive and a functional fitness class. So basically getting us ready to be functional in our everyday lives, but also functional in all those fun things that we want to do, either with Project SOAR or on our own. So I will try to give some different adaptations, different things that different ways we can do these exercises, so that if you have an injury or an illness that makes doing it one way not work for you, that you have another option. Since I don't have anyone live, sometimes it's hard for me to know exactly what that might look like for you personally and individually. So if you're not sure how to adapt something for yourself and it doesn't make sense what I've shown you here, feel free to reach out to me. My number is in the description for this video. And you could also leave me a comment on the video if you have any feedback or any questions. We have a climbing trip coming up in just a couple weeks. So some of the things that I'll talk about today are kind of specific to getting ready for climbing. But again, even if you're not climbing with us, don't worry about it. This is going to be something that helps you be functional in a whole bunch of different ways in your life. The only thing you absolutely need to have is just a little bit of space, about the size of a yoga mat. If you're practicing in a chair for all or part of it, make sure you have a nice sturdy chair. You might see me moving in between, showing different options, but you pick whichever option works best for you, like I said. You don't need anything else. Everything is going to be body weight. But if you want to have some other things, I have some hand weights. So if you have hand weights at home, you could use those. I don't have any kettlebells at my house, but there is one exercise today that if you want to use a kettlebell, you could. I'm actually just going to hold on to my hand weight like it's a kettlebell. You could also use resistance bands. If you don't have any and you want some of these, I actually have some at the Access of Wilmington office, and I can make sure that you can have some if you want to use these for resistance and don't have any. And if you've been practicing these sessions with me, a couple weeks ago, I introduced this little thing. You can see it's very high tech. It is 2 full water bottles connected by a piece of twine. So one of the exercises we're going to do today is a wrist strengthening exercise where we actually curl up the string and pull the other bottle up like this, and then let it back down again. If you have not made one of these, don't worry about it. You can do the wrist curls instead. And the wrist curls are either going to be, and I'll tell you when it's halfway, you're going to curl your hands palms down, bringing the fist towards your elbow. And then the second half of our time, you'll do it the other way, curling your palms up. And you can either do that without weight, or again, if you have hand weights and you want to use hand weights, you can use them. I think that's all, just to kind of get you oriented to what we have planned today. Oh, I know. We are going to do a hip style workout, which is what we've been doing for several weeks now. This one's going to kind of stay in the same format. We'll do a little warm up in case you haven't had a chance to warm up today. And then we'll do some dynamic stretching. And then the workout proper is going to be 3 rounds of 8 exercises. Each exercise will be a minute long, and 50 seconds of that, I'm going to do the exercise, and 10 seconds is sort of a transition to the next exercise. If that ratio doesn't work for you, you can keep the minute space, and then change the ratio. So maybe do 40 minutes of work, 20 seconds of rest and transition, or 30 and 30, whatever your body needs. And you can also change the number of rounds. So I'm doing 3 rounds before we cool down and stretch together. But if you want to do 1 or 2 and then work your way up as you continue working way you're out with us, or if you feel just extra energetic today and you want to rewind and then do another round or 2 before you cool down, you're always welcome to adapt these and make them work for you. And then on that note, let's go ahead and get warmed up. Today is actually starting to feel like spring. I know on Monday when we worked out together, it was a very cold first day of spring. So I hope you've had a chance to maybe get out and enjoy some of this. Go for a run, bike ride, walk, something just to get the blood pumping. But if you haven't, never fear, we'll warm up together. I usually just do 2 minutes. I like to split up so I don't get bored, do 30 seconds. So just 4 different things to get my heart pumping. You can do the same 4 exercises as me, or if you want, you can do a different mixture, and I'll try to give you some different options as we go. I'm going to start my smartwatch so I can track my progress. If you've got a smartwatch, go ahead and get it started. And then we will start with those 2 minutes. I'm going to start with jogging, and let's go. First 30 seconds, I'm going to jog it out. If that high impact doesn't work for you, you could keep it low impact and march. And if you are working out from the chair, you could march from the chair or punch it out. We'll do that together later on in the warm up. I'm going to go back to my jogging, but again, you do whatever works best for you. Our first 30 seconds is up. I'm going to move on to jumping jacks for 30 seconds. Again, you can do this traditional jumping jack or a seal jack if you want to keep your arms lower, or you can keep the impact lower. And then you could also do this as well from the seat, using arms only, or maybe kicking one foot out and then the other as you move your arms. Totally up to you. And that's 30 seconds. I'm going to do these last couple from the seat. You can do them standing. We're going to punch it out. See, I've got a little rotation in my torso, so I'm getting some core work. The faster you go, the more your heart rate comes up. If these jabs get you bored, you could always change it up to hooks. That's 30 seconds. Let's do our final one. I'm going to put my hands behind my head and do twists. So torso twists. Again, you can do these seated or standing, or you can pretend you're jumping rope if you want to stay on your feet, or any other variation of just some kind of cardio, just to get your heart pumping and our body ready to work. That's 2 minutes. Let's move on to our stretching. And so this is stretching, but it's also sort of a chance to check in at the beginning of our workout and see how we feel so that we can make the best decisions for ourselves as we work out together. So I'm going to do some slow squats with my feet in different positions to kind of see how my joints feel. If you're seated, instead of doing a squat, bring your feet together and we'll do heel raises instead of the squatting motion. So you can bring your hands to your hips or in front of your chest. We're going to squeeze the thighs together and lower down, and then press through the heels to come back up. Checking in with your range of motion, seeing how everything feels as you do this. We're going to do about 5 of these. I think that was 3. And then we're going to change the angle and take the feet about hips distance. Again, you can follow me with squats, or you can do those heel raises. If you're like me, the knees are doing a little snap, crackle, pop. So just check in if that's painful. You might want to make some different decisions about your knees today, but if it doesn't hurt, you might be okay. You know your body the best. After 5, let's take this even wider. Heels wider than toes. Or sorry, toes wider than heels. Heels maybe in line or a little wider than your shoulders. And 5 more. See if you can keep your shoulders right over your hips rather than leaning forward. Nice long spine. Checking in with your balance, your range of motion. I think that's 5 right there. And then we're going to work a little bit on our spine. Oh, I'm getting a weird message from Zoom. Hopefully everything's okay. All right. So we're going to do like a cat-cow. So if you've done yoga before, you can do cat-cow on the ground in a all-fours position. I'm going to show it seated. So hands are on the thighs or the knees, rooted down through the feet, rooted down through the seat, and then we'll inhale, lift the chest, arching the back. Exhale, tucking the tailbone, rounding the back. And again, your range of motion, your speed, noticing how all of this feels. I think that's 5. If you feel like you need more, you can do more. And then next, we're going to come into a side bend. And again, if you want to do this standing, you can. Let's do a side bend to the left. You can keep your left hand at your side, or you can bring it behind your head with a bent elbow, or you can reach over. Totally up to you. I'm going to bring my hand behind my head. And then while we're in this side bend position, we're going to do another rotation. So inhale, rotate your chest up towards the ceiling, and then exhale, rotate your chest down towards the floor. And let's do that 5 times. And 2 more. Last one. Come back to the center. Release your hand if you have it lifted. Come back up to the middle. And then we'll do the same thing to the other side. So we'll start with that side bend. And then when you're ready, we'll come into that rotation. Inhale, turning chest towards the ceiling. Exhale, rotating the chest down towards the floor. I think 2 more. And last one. And then we'll come back to the middle, shake that out. We're going to do some movement through our hips. Sometimes I show this standing. I've shown what this looks like seated. Today, I'm just going to mix it up and show you can do this lying down as well. So the movement is pretty much the same. I'm going to lie on my side. Extend the bottom leg. And then bend the right knee. That's the knee that I have on top. And then rotate through the hip. So making a circle. Try not to let your body rock forward and back if you're on your side. Try to keep yourself steady. That's part of the balance here. And then after you've done 5, let's take the circle in another direction. So we reverse it. The knee comes back, up, and then back to the front. And I think that's 5. And then I'm going to extend the leg, flex the toe, kick forward and backward. And again, trying not to rock on that hip, trying to keep our hips steady. You can use your hand in front like I am to help with that. But you're also going to use some core strength. So even as we stretch, we're already starting to feel our body work. I think that's 5 there. We'll keep that foot out in front and we'll lower it down. and then lift it up. And if you're standing or if you're seated, that's going to be side to side in front of you. The movement is pretty much the same. We just have our body in a different orientation. Let's do 2 more. And then that's it. Let's push ourselves up and come to the other side. And I'm going to bend that top knee and bring that knee forward, up towards the ceiling, down towards the other knee, and then back around. So that's the movement. And then let's take it the other direction. Still circles. Circles are just going the other way. And then after that 5th one, we'll extend that top leg, flex the toes, and kick back and front. And then let's, after that last one, go side to side. All right, great job, everyone. I'm going to get off the floor. And we'll do some movement in our shoulders and our neck. We don't want to forget the upper body. Again, you can do this seated. I'm going to stand so I'm a little closer to the camera. We're going to shrug our shoulders up, pull the shoulder blades away from each other. So we're sort of caving in and then coming back. So you can keep your hands at your sides, or you can make chicken wings, or you can extend them all the way out. And then we reverse it. Again, you can do any of those options, or you can mix it up like I have and do a few of each. All right. Let's stretch our neck a little bit. So I'm going to let my right ear fall towards my right shoulder, noticing any sensation that I feel on the left side, on the neck, or in the back of the head, maybe down into the shoulder. You can stay here still. If you want to explore this, you can tilt your chin down towards your shoulder or up towards the ceiling. And let's let our chin come to the chest and move to the other side. Same thing here. You can stay still, or you can move a little bit here. Explore that range of motion. You may even find that as you're rotating that there's one particular place that you feel a nice opening. So if you wanted to pause there and maybe take a couple breaths before you keep moving, you could do that. All right. That's about it. Let's bring our chin to chest, lift our gaze back up to the horizon, and we are about to get started with our workout proper. If you feel like you need to stretch a little more or do some more movement to get ready, you've got that pause button. Feel free to do that. If you haven't already started playing some music for yourself, music can be super motivating, so play a playlist that gets you motivated. I don't play it on my end because I don't have the copyright to, and also I don't want to make it difficult for you to hear me. But feel free to play anything if it helps. We're going to start with a kettlebell swing. And again, if you don't have a kettlebell, don't worry. You don't need to have anything. You can clasp your hands together. Our feet are a little wider than shoulder distance apart. We're going to keep our back flat and reach our hands between our legs and then swing our arms back up. Let the hips come forward. So it looks like that. You could also, if you don't have a kettlebell, do what I'm going to do if you want to use a little more resistance. I'm just going to hold onto this weight like a goblet and do the same motion. If you're working out from your chair, similar thing. You take your feet wide if you're able to, kind of shimmy forward on the chair if you've got that ability to do that, to give yourself room to come into that same movement. So we're not rounding the back, we're keeping it nice and flat. You're going to feel this in your core. And then if you're standing, you might feel this a little in your legs too. So we're going to start in about 10 seconds. I'm going to start this timer. And we're going to do that for 50 seconds and then we'll move on. Okay. 2, 1, begin. We are halfway there. And I am already feeling this in my core. I don't know about you, but this is a full body exercise. And I am feeling it everywhere. Here's our chance to move on. Our next exercise is going to be alternating lunges. If you're in a chair, you can do alternating leg slides. Time has begun. I'm going to show you the alternating lunge. I'm going to step back 1 foot and then the other. Go as fast as you can, still maintaining your balance and control. My knees are a little unsteady, so I always take this just a little slower so that I don't injure my knees and so that I don't fall over. It's a little easier for me to keep my balance if I go slower. So find a pace that works for you. You've got 10 more seconds. Here's our chance. We're going to move on to lateral raises. Again, you can do these standing or seated, with or without weights. And let's go. So we're going to take our arms out to the side about shoulder height and then lower down. See if you can pull your belly button to spine. And keep your shoulders right over your hips. And if you're standing, keep the knees just a little bit soft so they're not locked out. Feel free to bend your elbows a little bit. These are really tough. Sometimes just putting that little bit of a bend in the elbows makes this a little more accessible and helps us target those lats. And if you're climbing with me, those lats are going to be really important. 10 more seconds. We're moving on to those wrist curls. Remember, if you've not made the little bottle contraption, don't worry. You can curl your wrists up, and I'll let you know when we're halfway, and you can curl them down. If you're doing a little bottle thing, once you get that bottle up to the top, you roll it right back down. So we get that forearm and wrist workout on the way up and on the way back. I may have made my twine a little too long for my height. I may have to adjust that. We're halfway. So if you're doing this without the bottles, go ahead and switch. 10 more seconds. I am feeling this, people. All right, the next thing is a plank with alternating rows. I'm going to use weights, so you don't have to. If you're doing this seated, have your arms out in front and pull back in a row, and then the other. If you're doing this on the mat, Come into your version of plank and do the same thing. Try to keep your body steady instead of rocking. If you're not able to do that with your body in a plank this way, remember you have options. You can do plank on your knees. And then you could also bring your knees right under your hips and do a tabletop and do this rowing movement side to side. So there's lots of ways to do this.
10 seconds.
Find what your best option is for today. It may be different tomorrow, maybe different next week. Rest. All right, we're moving on to some triceps. I'm going to do this lying down. If you are seated, you can do the same thing. It's going to look like this. I'm going to do it like this. Let's go. Our time has started. Those 10-second transitions are really fast. So we're taking this down almost to our forehead. Please don't hit yourself in the head if you're using a weight. If you're not using a weight, that's fine. Clasp your hands together and use control. Imagine you're lifting and lowering something super heavy. I promise you're still going to feel this in your triceps.
Ten seconds.
10 more seconds. And rest. Our next exercise is going to be leg lifts and lowers. You can do this seated. You may have to shimmy out a little bit. And you may want to do alternating, or you can lift and lower both. Time has already started. If you're lying on the mat, make sure you have that connection of your low back into the mat. So you're going to need to pull your belly button to spine. Squeeze your legs together if you're using both at the same time. Flex your toes back to your knees. Find the range of motion where you can keep your lower back plugged into that mat.
10 seconds.
10 more seconds. This might be one where you want to go a little slower. Faster isn't always better. The last thing we're going to do is Superman lifts. So from the mat, kind of started, it's going to look like this. And then you can lower and lift. If having your arms extended out in Superman doesn't work for you, you can bring your hands back. And if doing arms and legs at the same time doesn't seem like a good choice, maybe do the upper body and then do the lower body and alternate. From the chair, arch the back, lift the arms, and then lower them back down. So we're doing the same movement, really strengthening those muscles along the spine. Time is up. We've got 60 seconds to rest. That was our 8 exercises. We are going to repeat those 8 exercises. I probably won't show as many of the options these last 2 rounds since you've already seen them. But I might just pick one of the options and just do it the whole time. So if you have a different option that you prefer that I just showed you, feel free to do the one you prefer, even if I'm demonstrating a different one. Okay? All right, get some water. We've got 30 more seconds, and then we are going to start with those kettlebell or air swings, whichever you're doing. And we'll start in 10 more seconds. I'm going to use my weight, and I'm going to do this standing this round. Let's go. If you're doing the standing version of this exercise, as you come up, Give those glute muscles a little squeeze. Helps to imagine that you're really pressing through your heels. That's going to help activate that glute muscle. We've got 10 more seconds. And then we move on to either those leg slides or those alternating lunges. 10 seconds. You can do those alternating lunges if you want. This time I'm just going to do the leg slide because I want to let people see what that looks like for a little longer. I didn't show that very long. So our time has started. Feel free to do those alternating lunges. I'm sliding my foot on the ground forward and I'm alternating one into the other. You could also lift your foot up off the ground a little bit and make it more like a leg extension. That actually feels better for me because I've got my mat right in front of my chair and it's making it hard for my foot to slide.
Seconds.
10 more seconds. And then we're going to move on to those lateral raises. 10 seconds. If you're using weights or anything, go ahead and grab it. Let's go. And you can use your weights. Sorry, I'm not going yet, but I hope you are. I'm going to show what this would look like using a band. If you're standing, you'd be standing on the band. I laced it under the seat since I'm doing it seated this time. And again, the movement is the same. We're halfway through these. I'm just showing you that you can do them seated. And I'm showing you the band variation.
10 seconds.
10 more seconds. And let's rest. Let's move on to those wrist curls. I'm going to use my little bottle set up here again, but you use the variation that works for you. Let's go. So this strengthens our wrists and forearms and also our hands. So even if you are not going to be climbing with us, that hand strength is really important for a lot of everyday stuff. I know I struggle to get water bottles and jars and things open, so I am hoping that adding this to my workout helps make it a little easier for me to open bottles and jars and such. All right, we got 10 more seconds. We're going on to those plank with rows. And again, I showed you from the ground a bunch of different options. I'm going to show you again the seated version. So my arms are extended at shoulder height, just like a plank. You could do this with or without weight. And then draw that elbow back, squeezing that shoulder blade back, and then alternate to the other side. So the movement, again, stays the same, whether you're seated or on a mat, or just in a different orientation. And our core is getting some strength either way, because to sit up nice and tall and to not rock my body here, I need to pull my belly button to spine and really root down through the soles of my feet and my seat.
10 seconds.
10 more seconds. Maybe next time I won't use the weights for this. I'm really feeling this. All right, rest. I'm going to come onto the ground again for those triceps, but the motion is the same even if you're seated. So we're bringing our hands back towards the forehead and then extending the arms right about shoulder level. If you have a weight like me, if you prefer, you could do it this way. That feels a little better. To me, it feels like I'm less likely to hit my head with the weight.
Ten seconds.
10 more seconds.
Rest.
All right, next is those lift and lowers with the legs. If you're lying down, really feel where your low back is pressed into the mat.
Let's go.
Let's go. I have my legs extended long as I lower them down and bring them back up. You can also bend your knees. So if you want to experiment with that and see if that lets you keep your low back on the ground, sometimes just changing that lever a little bit helps. And again, slow doesn't mean easy. In fact, with this exercise, going slow is going to make this really challenging. So see what happens if you slow this down. And rest. And we're going to come over onto our bellies if we're on the floor to do that Spider-Man lift and lower. So strengthening all those muscles along our spine. Let's go. And lower. So if you're laying down, your pelvis and your hip bones are kind of pressed into the earth. You're squeezing the glutes to lift the legs. And you're also squeezing the muscles in the low back and all along the spine. Much like our first exercise, this is a full body exercise. We're feeling this from the top to the bottom. The difference is we're using more of the muscles on the back side of the body instead of the front side. Great job, everyone. Take your 60-second break. Remember, you have that remote control. You can press pause if you need a little longer. Get a drink of water, use the restroom, whatever you need to do to be ready for our third and final round of our workout. And then we will cool down and stretch. All right, we have about 10 more seconds. So get ready to be in place for that swing with or without that extra resistance. And let's go. Ooh, I didn't get balanced there. Halfway through these kettlebell swings. These are the last ones we're doing today.
Seconds.
10 more seconds. And we have 10 seconds to move on to either those leg slides if you're practicing from the chair or alternating lunges. Let's go. We're halfway through these lunges or leg slides.
10 seconds.
10 seconds. We're moving on to those lateral raises. You can do these seated or standing, with or without additional resistance. Let's go. Paying attention to your form as you move through those shoulders. We still want to keep our core engaged, our knees just a little bit soft, so we can protect that low back as we're building strength in our lats. See if you can kind of draw those shoulder blades together just a little bit while you're doing this. All right. This time, instead of using the bottles, I'm going to do the wrist curls just so that you can see what they look like. A little closer view. I'm going to curl up and back, up and back. And again, if you don't have a weight, that's fine. Make a fist, do the same movement. And just imagine you're curling something really heavy. We're halfway, so if you're using the weights or your fists, flip them over and we'll curl the back of our hand towards the forearm instead of the palm towards our forearm.
10 seconds.
10 more seconds. Oh, I'm feeling this. All right, let's move on to our plank rows. This time I'm going to come back to the mat, but you can do it seated too. Let's go. Try not to rock too much. Use that core strength to keep yourself steady. And then pull that shoulder blade back towards your spine as you lift that elbow up. And curl the hand or that weight up towards your shoulder. Oh, I'm rocking. It's easy to do.
10 seconds.
10 more seconds. All right. Let's move on again to our triceps. Let's go. Halfway through. And after this, just 2 more exercises before we cool down.
10 seconds.
Next are those leg lifts and lowers with control, nice and slow.
Let's go. Halfway there. 10 seconds. Rest.
All right, final exercise. We're going to do those Superman lifts. Let's go.
Halfway there. Seconds.
10 more seconds. We are almost done. Well done. Take a little break. We'll cool down together and stretch in just a few moments. Whew. Feel free to get a drink of water. Do any little movement or stretch on your own that you want to do. Please don't skip the cool down and stretch. It's such an important part of our workout to give our body a chance to recover after working so hard. And then that lets us continue to do the things we enjoy and the things that we need to do to get through our day and do it all again tomorrow. All right. I'm going to move some of my things out of the way. And then let's go ahead and get started on our stretching. So one of the first things I want to do is stretch our ankles. And they're really important when we're climbing. If you've been to some indoor climbing or done outdoor climbing before, you know as you're getting your feet into the footholds, your ankle needs to be able to articulate as much as you're able to. So being able to stretch and get some range of motion there is a really good idea. In the past, I've shown you that you can stand on like a step or a yoga block or something like that. Today, I'm going to show you another variation using a strap. It doesn't have to be fancy. This is a yoga strap, but you could use an old belt. I'm going to place it under the ball of my foot and hold on to either end. And then use my arms just to create a little bit of tension. Doesn't have to be a lot, just enough that I feel the stretch. You're also probably going to feel this not just in the ankle itself, but in those tendons that run along the bottom of the foot and up the back of the leg, and maybe in the muscles of the calf a little. You can increase that sensation maybe by also pressing into the ball of your foot so you get a little dynamic tension. And then if you want to, you could play with the angles, maybe tilt your foot a little bit to the inside, a little bit to the outside. Just playing with that a little bit, maybe tilting your foot to rotate through the foot. I don't know if you can see that from where you are, but not just side to side with the toes, but also kind of canting the foot itself. And all of that is helping you get some rotation in that ankle. You could even make a circle. You could write your name with your toe. Just, again, exploring that range of motion, getting a good stretch there. And then when you're done with one foot, you can switch over and do the same thing on the other. I'm trying to see what this looks like in the image on my computer screen. I think you can see what I'm talking about here. So that's pointing, flexing. That's kind of tilting the foot outside and inside, and then that's rotating. Yeah. You can see there's kind of different things happening there. Our ankle has a lot of mobility in its original state. Some of us maybe a little less now if we've had some injuries. But just trying to get as much functionality as we can with where it is today. All right. Let's move on to a seated split. So you could do that sitting in a chair, take your legs wide, you can keep your knees bent, or you could extend them out. You can also do that seated on the floor. I'm going to stay in the chair today. I think I've shown you before that if you're like me and you have kind of tight hips on the floor, that can be kind of uncomfortable. So I find if I lift my seat up just a little bit with a pillow or a yoga block or a folded up blanket or towel, sometimes that just takes that pressure off the hips and lets me extend the legs. My legs are pretty straight right now because my seat is high and that gives me a little more flexibility to do that. But if you're on the floor and you need to bend your knees, go ahead and bend them. But see if you can rotate through your hips so that your toes and the knees are pointing straight up. Instead of letting them roll out like this, see if you can rotate so that everything is pointing right up towards the ceiling. And then we're going to do a little forward fold. So you can have your hands on your thigh or on the floor. You can reach behind you. Try to see if you can keep your spine long as you fold forward. So instead of trying to articulate through the vertebrae and round the back, what we're going for here is more of a hinge in the hips. So that's what we want that movement to be coming from. We already rounded through our spine before, if you remember with those cat-cows. So we did do that. We're just doing something different right now. We have a different goal or different mission for the stretch. And then when you're ready, we'll walk our way back up. And then now we can let the legs fall open. And we're going to bring our feet together. Now, if you're on the floor, you can let the soles of the feet come together and your knees come wide. That might feel a little awkward in the chair. I can do it, but it kind of feels weird. So if you want to put your feet down and just have them close together and let your knees fall out, whatever works best. And then we'll do the same thing. We'll fold forward. Can you just shift where you are on your chair to feel steady? You can. I'm going to come back a little. Felt like I was going to fall off. You can grab your legs or your ankles or your feet. Just try to resist the urge to pull. We're going to let this fold just happen without trying to force anything. Just allowing our body to kind of ease into it and see what happens when we do that. And when we're ready, let's come back up nice and tall. We're going to do a chest stretch. You can do this standing. I'm going to show what this will look like from the chair. So I'm going to move my chair around a little. And I'm going to bring my elbow bent up about shoulder height. And then bring my forearm against the wall. And then turn my upper body away from, and I'm actually going to cant my whole body, but turning the body away from the wall to get a stretch in the front of the shoulder. This will be the same if you're standing. It'll just be on your feet. Let's do this on the other side. I unplugged my computer, moving my chair. Oh, there we go. And then when you're done stretching on that side, we'll bring our hands behind our back and stand up here. You could use that strap again, or you could grab onto your wrists or forearms, or you can interlace your fingers. And then once we have that connection, we can lift, draw the shoulder blades together, and let the front of the chest stretch. And our final stretch today is another shoulder stretch. We've been stretching the front of the chest and shoulder, so let's stretch more of the back of it. Take our arm across our chest, hook that tricep with your hand or your forearm, and hug it in. Most of us have seen this one before. And then we can release and switch to the other side. And then release, shake it out, take a big breath, and give yourself some gratitude for taking time today to do this workout and increase your functionality, get ready for all those fun things that you want to do. I hope to see you soon. We have air rifle tonight, so if you're not already signed up and you want to do some air rifle shooting, feel free to join us. We supply everything over at Best Shot. So come on by. There are some people who are signed up to do some deep sea fishing tomorrow. Hopefully the weather holds out. We'll make our final decision on that around 6 p.m. tonight. I think I had one spot left for the morning, so feel free to sign up. Otherwise, thank you again. And I will see you for our next workout on next Monday. And remember, we have a whole playlist of these. So if you want to work out and it's not a SOAR Fit live on Zoom day, you can do these whenever you want. And if there's some that you really, really like, you can kind of hit them as your favorite and redo them as much as you like. So thank you so much. If you have any questions or concerns, again, give me a call, leave me a comment, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.